Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, folks. How you doing? It's Danny Tisdale, and of course, it's the Danny Tisdale Show. And I am so glad to have you here and to have everyone here to share in this podcast. And as I usually do, and as I will do this time, please, if you have any questions or if you have any guests you would suggest, you can tweet us, you can send questions to us on Facebook, wherever we may be, and more importantly, wherever you are at Harlem World Magazine. Just put in Harlem World Magazine into your social media platform, and you'll connect with us. And, you know, today, as we always do, we love talking to leaders, legends, and trailblazers. And, you know, we try to do that with every show. And, you know, with every show, we have a leader, legend, and our trailblazer. And, of course, we do it today. And we do that in celebrating Harlem, the greatest community in the world. And today, as we celebrate Black Music Month, we have Harlem's Melba Moore on. She is a Tony Award winner, 3-time Grammy nominee. She had 2 number 1 hit singles, Falling and A Little Bit More, M-O-R-E, not M-O-O-R-E, with a duet with Harlem Freddie Jackson. And she's also done a song with, and I think we've got this right, Harlemite Cuba Gooding Sr.'s son, Cuba Gooding Jr. in the motion picture The Fighting Temptation. I think that's right. She's a philanthropist. She's been on Broadway. She's been in movies. You name it, she's done it in a positive way. She is a superstar in capital letters. Sometimes they're superstars in a lowercase, superstar, capital letters, and I want to thank Melba Moore for kicking off Black Music Month with us here today. Hello, Ms. Moore. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you, Danny Tisdale, for having me on your show and celebrating Harlem and Black Music Month with me. Thank you.
Well, you know, I started off thank you, and I started off earlier, and I was late to the call because I was trying to sing Under the Love from 1982, and from the look of the staff that's around me, I don't think I was successful at it, but I just wanted to admit that and make sure I stay in my lane, which is definitely not singing. But I will say that I have had a number of hits. I've had a number of hits in the music industry when I've been in the shower. Tons of hits.
I understand that.
Okay, let me stop.
You got the tiles to echo you and the water to clean it up.
And nobody hears it, so thank you. Well, again, let me stop messing around here, and thank you for being on the show. And as you can see, I've been, you know, very inspired by your music. And who inspired you to get involved in music?
Well, I guess in the very beginning, it was I come from a musical family. My mother was a professional singer, so the first person I saw in my life and period was my mother, and I saw her beauty. She was very beautiful, and you know, the entertainment industry exploits, or you know, we really hype glamour and beauty and physical beauty, and you see, because people treat you in a certain way when you're pretty. That's just as the case. And my natural father, whom she never married, was a big band leader by the name of Teddy Hill. And so very early on in life, I found out who he was. But then later on, she married the gentleman who raised me, my stepfather. His name was Clem Mormon, which is where I get the name Moore. I just shortened the name from Mormon to Moore. And so music was in our home, and they were really special. I mean, they were extraordinary. They were black people, and back in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s like that, you know, I don't care where you lived, it was still segregated. We still have, I guess we have the great community of Harlem in part because of segregation.
Right,
So
right.
Well, so you get a chance to see the difference in racial relations when you grow up black, and see how you're treated and how other people are treated, and you see how differently musicians are treated. They're treated like kings and queens.
Right.
And so I think my
Very
first
true.
inspiration really came from home, and they encouraged us. Well, I was an only child at first, and then when my mother married my stepfather, he had a son and a daughter, and then later we had two more brothers. And so that was a huge influence on my life too. The effect that have musicians as your parents, the effect that it had on your family.
Oh,
but
yeah.
To have a sister and a brother, and my stepfather was a piano player, and he just passed away about a year ago, and he was still playing piano and playing very well at 101 years old. So they were really inspirations, not just about the glamour and the beauty and the different treatment, but a kind of care that you take care of your instrument and take care of your health. A special place that you have. Yeah, and you learn in that kind of a way. For instance, when I was about, I guess, junior high school age, and it was time to think about where you were going to go to high school, I realized that I was so in love with music that I wanted to really. Well, I've been studying piano by that time for about 5 or 6 years, since I was 9 or 10 years old, that I wanted to specialize in it, and that's when I decided not to go to the high school that my brother and sister and my stepfather had gone to in Newark, New Jersey, South Side, but to go to Arts High and actually major in music. So they would be my inspiration, and then since they got us involved with actual study of music in the home as children, I've been hooked for a long time. I mean, it's not that I thought I was talented. I mean, we just loved music, and I hoped that I would find a place in it. Yeah.
Interesting. So, did your mother play the piano too? I know you said your father did.
No, she didn't. She was a singer, but he made all us kids take piano.
Wow! So everybody knew how to play the piano.
Right, and everybody in his family, all his sisters and brothers. One of his sisters taught him how to play music when he was coming up, and he caught the fever, and he started being a musician as a I guess probably about 18 or 19, he became a professional musician, and he just fell in love with it, and he practiced, and he took care of his instrument, and anytime he was around young people, he would encourage them to study the piano. I stopped playing the piano, but at 100 years old, he was asking me, Melba, do you still play the piano? I said, no, Daddy. I'm a singer. But he loved it
After
so
all
much,
these
he
years,
wanted everybody else to learn.
Right.
He wanted to do it as a hobby,
Right. But to have it as something that you do. And I wanted to ask you, because people keep asking me, as I told them that we were going to do this show, what part of Harlem were you born in? Was it uptown on 100 and whatever street, or?
Right. No, actually, I lived on 108th Street in Central Park West, but I went to school at St. Thomas Aquinas on 116th Street. So I did everything in Harlem. The minute I began my day, I had to cross 110th Street. So we did all our shopping and everything, and we lived in Harlem, but the Upper West Side. Yeah.
So I almost lost my train of thought there, because I was going to ask you, if you were surrounded by music all the time, family, and I imagine that their friends probably were either interested in music or loved music too. When did you realize that, okay, this is something I'm really good at, I love doing it? You had that aha moment with music.
Well, they weren't all the same. You assumed that I just was good and knew it and everybody knew it. No.
No, it wasn't like that.
I said, well, because, when you get into a performing arts high school, everybody's good, so you don't stand out anymore.
Right.
For one thing, but you love studying it and being around people who love it, and it's a charged and a warm, environment where everybody is if you weren't studying music, you were studying art of some kind. So it is a charmed community. But you just feel a little bit intimidated sometimes by some of the other talent. But then you just feel the camaraderie of everybody loving music, and we studied other instruments. Like I studied the viola, as well as continued to study piano. So you're it's like you get immersed in a whole nother zone.
Right. Oh, that's fantastic. And were you going to different musical events in Harlem as you were growing up, or was it just kind of school, home scenario?
That's a very good question, because I'm giving you the wrong idea. The time that I spent in Harlem, I was an only child. My mother she was a single parent, and she was gone all the time. And I knew that she was very beautiful, and I knew that she sang, but there was no music in my life. I didn't have any music coming into my life at all until she married my stepfather, Clem Mormon, and we moved to Newark, New Jersey. I'm sorry, and I have to say that, or else you get the wrong impression about how I grew up. Because I got to blame Newark, New Jersey for all of the musical influence.
Well, wait a minute. There's some residue from Harlem that went with you when you crossed the river over there.
I was just going to say, my mother had taken me to the Apollo, and she'd given me dance lessons, and she had already, introduced me to certain things that little kids have experiences. And so I could tell the difference between myself and Newarkites already, even just the first 9 or 10 years of my life, playing in Central Park and playing on the streets of New York, as opposed to the streets of Newark. Very, very, very different city composition and style. But actually, I guess. And the two different influences of my education is extremely important. I went to Catholic school. I started out, and I'm a born-again Christian, and I think it all goes back to that, where you have this strong religious upbringing that regardless of whatever else is going on, then you know what I'm saying. Whatever else is going on in your life, that's extremely strong influence. And then when I moved to Newark, New Jersey, I continued as a Catholic. But then my stepfather was Presbyterian, so we would go to there was a Presbyterian church, 13th Avenue Presbyterian Church. That was very strong influence. But when we got old enough, all of us, when I say all of us, my brother, my sister, and myself would sneak around to Abyssinia Baptist Church and hear the good Pentecostal music.
The gospel music. Oh, I bet that.
Okay.
So all these influences, it sounds like it kind of was this gumbo of experiences that kind of influenced you in some way. So do you remember the moment when the clouds parted and the sun shined and you said, you know what, this is something I want to, music is something I want to do for the rest of my life, and I have this talent.
Yeah.
Did that moment happen, or it was over time?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Wow.
It happened, and it wasn't very easy because since my parents worked together as musicians, as a couple, and as a family, and during the 50s and 60s, the time when they were, working a lot, the industry was much more segregated than it is now, and especially for if you weren't superstars. You didn't have big agencies and managers helping you to run your career. You had to do it. And with the racism that was there, like if you had to go drive south, you didn't have places to stay. You couldn't
stay
restaurants, and there was nobody guiding your careers. Okay, and
so you had to do it on yourself or with other fellow musicians.
Well, the thing is, they discouraged us from going into the industry, and so my sister and my brother, all of us, we were school teachers. So I taught music in the public schools of Newark, New Jersey for a couple of years. But then the aha moment came. I said, I'm still good at it. I'm a good teacher. I'm a good student. I probably got that from Catholic school in the beginning.
Right,
You learn in the beginning that, especially for African Americans and Afrocentric people, we have to have a heart for community service, and that our inner city schools need you, and that you could sense that responsibility that you had as a role model as well as a mentor. and I felt that very strong, and I still do. So it was really, really difficult for me to go to my parents and say, I'm sorry, but I hate teaching. I can't go in there one more day. It was like that for me. It was really heart-rending because I was making a good living. My family was pleased with me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I was making great strides in it because the school system really wasn't supportive that much of music. They really didn't care. They, you know, the principal was a white woman, and I'm not saying that she was racist, but she didn't care about black kids. She was moving her career on.
Right.
So, I'm saying that to say the strides I made in the classroom were extraordinary because I cared and I was gifted at it.
Right.
But I still
goes a long way.
I still had to go. I had to leave. It was killing me. Not to try to be an artist, you know.
Right. Well, you know, I want to come back to this spot where we are right now and talk about that aha moment, because I just want to let our listeners know they're listening to the Danny Tisdale Show, and I'm that guy, Danny Tisdale, and you're listening to Harlem World Radio, and we are listening to, we're speaking to Melba Moore, superstar, vocalist, singer, and she's talking about that special moment, that aha moment in her life. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but you were talking about that moment, Ms. Moore.
Yes. And so I went to my dad, my stepdad, my daddy, and I told him, my daddy, I'm like you guys. I need to perform. You guys perform. Do you understand what that is? Because I don't think they understood. They knew they were having fun. They knew they were very committed, but they didn't look at themselves as, I guess, role models for us. They wanted to get real jobs.
Yeah.
And so I said, but Daddy, I tell you what, I made a deal with them. I said, you help me to get started as an artist, and if it doesn't work out for me, I'll come back and teach. So he helped me. My stepdad actually took me around to some of his colleagues to help me get started.
And so this was, you were in your 20s?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there? Okay. And
yeah.
Is that the secret to success in anything, that you have this passion, you know that this is what you want to do, and you know, maybe rolling the dice is not the right word to
no, it's
right
a good
metaphor.
Word to describe it. It's a great metaphor.
Okay.
Because you're going totally on emotions and heart. You don't really have a plan. You don't know anybody in the industry. You don't really know if you have a talent. Just know you got to try. You have this passion.
Right.
You have this drive, and it's driving you crazy.
So I guess that's why we have shows like what's the show they come on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, where, you know, an amateur comes to the microphone. The Voice, I guess. It's kind of, it seems like that's why a show like that was created, for those people who have this passion. They don't want to do what they're doing, that 9 to 5 typically, and here's an opportunity to be at the microphone and to sing, you know, in front of all these people around the world. It kind of reminds me of that kind of situation, that it's for those people
that.
in a sense. Yeah.
It's absolutely that, yeah. And that's a common fever that lots of people catch.
Right.
I mean, whether you have talent or not, you may still have, it's so charismatic, it's so attractive, you know, wonder if I could, you know, it looks like so much excitement and fun. And guess what? It is.
So when did you know then that, okay, you had the feeling that this is what I want to do and the passion? When did you realize that the audience or someone else feels the same way I do about my music?
I can remember
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you have to have some confirmation that
yes,
you can do this, and it can't come from just how you feel. You have to get a confirmation from the audience for someone that, oh yeah, you have something that can be used. I think that there's probably been other times that it happened, but the thing that I remember definitively, because it looks like to me there were opportunities, and I just said yes and jumped into it, and then I found out what I was into after.
What you're getting into, right? The mix.
Well, I think that one of the first examples of it was I had gotten into the Broadway show Hair, and I was in the chorus, and was doing a few featured things, and my voice was getting stronger and stronger. I didn't have really what I consider a definitive style, but it was starting to come. And then I replaced Diane Keaton after several different people who were doing the lead role in there left.
Right.
And so I did the role of Sheila, and so as a soloist, and somebody, a totally different style from Diane Keaton, not to mention different race, not to mention during a time when that never happened. You never had a black replace a white female or male or anything. It was another first. But it was
I was just going to say you were one of the first to do that. Yeah. So,
but I mean, the audience would tell you,
That's right. That's right. That's the tough part, I guess, and the wonderful part.
Guess.
Yeah,
the scary part. How about that?
Right. And I guess that's something.
You're talking about rolling the dice, honey. You got it there.
Wow, that's and so and that's what the aha moment was, is the response from the audience.
Well, definitely, because well, first of all, I got started by meeting Valerie Simpson and some other wonderful, talented people who were doing studio work, and so I was able to start in the industry and actually make a living before that, and be around people by singing backup for people like Aretha Franklin.
Doing studio. I see. Wow.
So you can be around those people and see what they're doing, but that wasn't really a test because. Well, it is a test. I mean, you got to be able to read and sing and do those kinds of things. And but I look at it not so much as a test, but a piece of good luck. I'm going to make a living, so I don't have to go back home yet. I can put a roof over my
Right. Exactly.
But that's not the test of whether or not you really have talent as a solo artist. But what happened was, on one of the recordings of doing studio work, they were doing the music from Hair, and Galt McDermott, who wrote the music and was a keyboardist for it, was there. He and Jerry Ragney and Jim Rado, who were the stars and the writers of the book and the lyrics for all of the music that was from the Broadway show Hair. But that's the way I got my first Broadway show, and they were still casting for some of the roles in the play, so I got it there. But then when I was in Hair, one of the girls was saying, "Well, Melba, this show's not going to run forever. Even if it does, you don't want to stay here forever. You don't even know how to audition. You got this on the record tape." So she told me, I should. She said, I audition for things all the time. I said, "Well, what do you do?" So she said, "Well, you try to be like what they call typecast." I said, "Well, what's that?" She said, "Well, you try to look like the part that you're going up for." And she told me about auditions for the Broadway show Pearly, and she gave me all the information. And so I was trying to learn how to audition, but apparently I was country enough to get the role.
Country enough to get.
Of course, and a Tony Award and a career. Now the acid test really begins, okay? But you begin to see, okay, there's something here.
Wow. Believe it or not, we're already past the mid-mark, and I knew this would happen, and we're down to our last 5 minutes, and it's ridiculous. But I wanted to...
I guess we're having fun then, huh?
Something like that, I guess they say, So there's someone out there who either has a son or daughter, or they're listening and they think they have this talent, they feel they have this talent, they're passionate. What advice would you give someone, some parent or someone who, has this talent, but they're, have those doubts, or they, trying to figure out what to do next? And maybe they're even saying, you know what, I've been doing this for a while, maybe I should, hang it up. What do you say to these people who, have those thoughts? Because you have been a superstar for a wonderful period of time, and it doesn't seem to stop. What do you say to somebody who?
Well, it does stop. You have to keep lighting and stoking the fire. But one of the ways you do that these days, because when I was coming along, we didn't have any internet or
right.
Social networking. So you have those things that you can investigate to see what might be possible to get some nurturing for your young person. You can also, I think everybody should take an instrument of some kind and get involved with study of music. The most common one is the keyboards because that's just a common musical instrument. Some people they gravitate more toward other instruments, but listen and see what experiment with your child or your young person or yourself, because I don't think there has to be an age limit on it. You can still always remember forever, remain young in that way. And one of the other places is always your local church. They're obligated to really try to help you find your way and join the chorus, or now they have dance ministries. There are lots of areas where you can inquire. So there's lots of places, and you should investigate it. And even if it winds up just being a hobby, it's the music. One of the things it does, it just unifies people to have music in the room.
That's right.
In the family, in the group.
That is so true. And my mother always said that she would never retire. She retired from the job she had from 9 to 5, but then she, continued working after she quote unquote retired. So it's never been something that I ever thought of doing. But and I don't think that people should. So
I don't either.
That's just my approach.
You have to have motivation. You have to have something to get excited or involved in, or even scared of. You have to keep jump starting
to motivate
yourself.
you, to get you going.
That's a good way to say it. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and we're Ms. Moore. We are down to our last 2 minutes, and I have 3 questions for you. So I'm going to try to make this as simple and straightforward as possible. Can you name, if you have, your favorite song that you sang, your favorite place in Harlem, and your contact information for our readers?
Let me give you the contact information in case I run out of time. Instagram, it's on Instagram. It's Melba, the number 1, and Moore, Moora, Melba number 1 Moore. On Twitter, it's Melba Moore, then number 1. And then there's my website, melbamoore.com. And, of course, it's Facebook.
And we'll add all that in the post,
pages.
too.
Yeah, you do that. All right. And what was the question?
And your favorite song that you have sang, is that fair?
I can tell you that quickly. Because it's the one most requested. No matter what kind of show I do, people usually ask me to do Van McCoy's Lean on Me, which I first heard from Miss Aretha Franklin, and she's still my favorite singer in the whole world.
Oh, she's
my favorite
fabulous.
person, maybe.
Right, yeah. Lean on Me. And then do you have the other question was favorite place in your favorite song, listeners' contact, and do you have a favorite place in Harlem?
These days there are so many wonderful new restaurants. I know. I love to eat, but I always go back to Sylvia's.
Oh, somebody said that the other day, and the first thing I think of when they say that is the fried chicken, and I almost hate to say that on a podcast because they always say black folks like chicken, so.
It's a gospel bird, babies.
Hey, don't get me started.
What can I tell you?
Well,
it is what
Melba
it is.
Moore, we're down to 49 seconds. Thank you for being on the show and celebrating Black Music Month with us. We love you, Melba Moore, and always want, I got to say it, more of you. But thank you for being on the show.
Bless you, Danny Tisdale. Good luck to you.
Thank you, and you will hear from us soon. Thank you again, Melba Moore, superstar. And it is fantastic that she was on the show and talking about the great body of work that she's done and that she continues to do. And I forgot to ask her what's coming up next. But you know what? We'll post that so that you can know what's coming up next. Look forward to celebrating the rest of Black Music Month with you. Bye-bye.